What's going on, guys? It's Hi with the Upper Left USA, and today I want to share with you this product, the EVOC CP26L Camera Backpack. I've been using this bag for the past couple of months as an everyday bag. I've used it to travel in the mountains, I've used it around the city, I've even used it as my carry-on for flying, and I've taken on about 4 flights, international and domestic, so I feel that I have enough experience with this bag to really share with you my thoughts on the positives and negatives of this product. But before I share my thoughts with you, let's go over some of the general features of this bag. If you couldn't tell by the name, the EVOC CP26L is a 26-liter camera backpack, and from the way that it is advertised, this bag seems to be geared towards outdoor and action sports photographers. This bag has many features geared towards those who are going to be taking this bag into snowy environments. These features include an attachment system for snowboards, skis, snowshoes, and ice access. I personally don't participate in winter sports, so these features don't apply to me, but they can be repurposed. I personally use the front and side lashings as a way to carry my tripod. The ice axis and shovel tied down can also be used as a way to carry trekking poles if you need it. The bag itself is constructed from 210D ripstop and 840D PU coated nylon. The exterior does offer some weather resistance, but for really wet situations, the bag comes with an integrated and removable rain cover. The outside of the bag features 3 pockets. The front-facing zipper houses a small pocket for storage of things such as goggles, sunglasses, or a cell phone. Things that are more fragile and you may not want to get scratched. One side of the bag features a dedicated pocket that can carry up to a 2-liter hydration bladder. This bag also features adjustable padded shoulder straps with load lifter adjustments and a removable hip belt. The hip belt is actually composed up of 2 different layers. The first is made of a more flexible material and held in place via Velcro, and the second securely holds everything in place with a plastic buckle. The hip belt also has pockets on either side that can fit minor items. The back panel is reinforced and padded to help raise the bag off of your back and prevent loads from causing excessive strain. The channels between the back padding allows air to more easily flow through and promote better ventilation. At the base of the bag are reinforced rubber feet which allows the bag to be placed down without it falling over, and provide added protection. This bag allows for access to the main compartment of the bag in 2 ways. The first is via a quick access side zipper. With this access point, you are able to remove and replace your camera from the bag without completely taking the bag off of your body. The other way to access your camera gear is via the zippered back panel. I personally prefer this, and it is almost a requirement for all my camera bags to have a rear panel access, and this is mainly for 2 reasons. The first reason is because I often take my camera bags outdoors, and in many situations the ground is going to be dirty. Having a bag with rear panel access means I can just lay the bag with the front down on the ground, reach my camera gear when I'm done, close everything back up, and put my bag back on with the part that stays on my back remaining clean, meaning that I stay clean. This is just a creature comfort, but one that I personally prefer to have on a bag that's definitely going to be going outdoors. The second reason for me preferring a rear panel access bag is for security reasons. I often travel around the world with camera gear, and some places can be extremely crowded and even a little bit sketchy, so that just means that there is a higher chance of getting pickpocketed. Having a bag with rear panel access just means that the main compartment of the bag where all my camera gear is going to be sitting flushed against my back, so it just makes it very difficult for anybody to come up, open up the zipper, reach inside, and grab anything meaningful. Since we're on the topic of the back panel access, something that's trivial but I personally really appreciate about this bag is that the back panel actually flips from side to side rather than top to bottom like most other rear panel access bags. When I'm using a camera bag with rear panel access and I get on location, I typically take the bag off my back, put it directly in front of me, and just lay it down. When a camera bag has a back flap that opens from top to bottom, it means that if you have the bag at any meaningful angle, there's a really good chance that the back flap will fall over and just cover everything back up again, and it just makes things a little bit inconvenient. Having the back flap open from side to side is just a simple and effective way of solving this problem, and I'm not really sure why other manufacturers don't really feature this side to side opening design. When we open up the rear panel of this bag, we have access to the main camera compartment of this bag. On the back lid itself are small pockets for storage of minor gear. Looking at the main camera compartment, we see that it is divided into 2 sections. 60% of the bag is dedicated to camera gear, while the other 40% is dedicated to an empty compartment accessible via the front and inside of the bag. The camera compartment itself features padded dividers that are common with many other bags. They are simply held in place by Velcro and can easily be adjusted to fit your gear. One thing that's different about this bag and that I appreciate is the inclusion of these thicker filled pads. You can stick these wherever there's too much empty space so that when you move, there's less room for your camera gear to bounce around and tussle, which reduces possible damage. So after using this bag, I would say that I personally have a few complaints about it. My biggest complaint with this bag is that it simply does not hold a lot of camera gear, or at least a dedicated camera compartment doesn't hold a lot of gear. For reference, if you are a shooter and only plan to bring along, say, the 2.8 Trinity zooms, I think you'll be fine with this bag. The camera compartment of this bag can hold, say, a 14-24 or a 16-35, a 20-40-70, and a 70-200 f2.8 just fine. It's kind of weird to say, but if you need anything more than a body and those 3 zooms, then things get a little bit difficult. But that also means you have a lot of room to play around with if you have smaller lenses in between those 3 different lens sizes, say you're using a lot of primes, then you can probably get away with a lot more. For my personal work, I don't have to carry around a bunch of big lenses, but I unfortunately have to carry a lot of different camera bodies and at least one lens for each camera body. On any given trip, I could be carrying 3 to 4 bodies and of course 3 to 4 lenses, and making that all fit in here in the dedicated camera compartment gets very complicated. This EVOC CP26 liter bag is just about the same size and offers pretty much the same amount of space as any other 25-26 liter bag, but unfortunately this bag forces you to have that upper empty cavity. With other bags, you generally have access to the entire camera compartment, and if you wanted an empty cavity, you can just build around that via the dividers. But this bag really forces it on you, as you can't remove that upper empty compartment or move it around at least, so that could really be a hit or miss depending on your needs. I think people who don't need to carry a lot of different camera bodies and lenses, but have a lot of different little accessories, they can make better use of this bag, especially if they have accessories that they can just throw in this empty compartment that they don't mind rubbing around against each other as they're moving around. That upper empty cavity can be extremely useful at times, but I just don't like that it's forced on me. It can't be moved or removed or anything. It's sewn in there and you just gotta live with it. My next complaint has to be with the side camera access of this bag. Don't get me wrong, the side camera access works perfectly fine. It does what it's supposed to, but I just personally feel that it was placed on the wrong side of the bag. Almost every camera made is going to be made for the right-handed person. I would assume that when most people reach for their camera, they would go at it with their right hand because that's where the grip is, so that's just the most convenient way of picking up a camera, by the grip on the right side. By this logic, it would only make sense that if you were to have a side camera access, you would take your camera bag off your back and reach in with your right hand on the left side of the bag, but that's just not the case with this camera bag. For some reason, the designers decided to put the side camera access on the right side of the bag, which forces you to take the bag off your back and reach in with your left hand, which again would be extremely inconvenient as there is no grip to grab onto unless you flip your camera upside down. Either way, it's just weird because you're gripping with your left hand, so you have to readjust everything just to get access for your right hand where all the controls are. Because of this, I've personally just abandoned this side camera access as I find it to be more of a hassle than it's actually worth. Also because of what I said earlier, remember how I said that I like rear panel camera access bags because of the extra security benefits? Well, I actually find that the side camera access is the opposite. It's actually a security risk. In a crowded environment where everybody's bumping into each other, it's going to be somewhat difficult for you to feel that somebody's opening up your bag and grabbing whatever is in there, and it's probably going to be something higher up. It's going to be something better and more expensive because this is a side camera access panel. You're probably going to have a camera and a lens right there. So if they're opening it up and you can't feel it, or even if you feel, you turn around and this thief starts running, unless you can outrun them, that stuff is gone. So like I've said, I've pretty much just abandoned this side camera access panel, and I've been mounting my tripod on this side of the bag just to make it more difficult if somebody were to try and open this panel up. So those are my two biggest complaints with this bag, but I do have some smaller minor ones. First of all, I would like to have thicker shoulder straps and a thicker hip belt. The current straps on this bag do a decent job, but when you really load up this bag and you start walking around after a few minutes, a few miles, you really start to notice all the weight on your shoulders. Traditionally, this is where the hip belt would come into play. You buckle it up and the weight is transferred to your hips rather than all on your shoulders. But because the hip belt of this bag is really flexible and lack any real rigidity, it doesn't do a good job of transferring the weight to your hips. The best that it does is just to keep the bag close to your body so that it doesn't flop around when you're moving about. So to me, the hip belt of this bag is more about form, more about comfort than any actual function. So even after everything that I said about this bag, I'm kind of at a crossroads because there are some glaring flaws with the bag. I personally love this bag, and that's mainly because of its aesthetic. I personally think that this bag is the best looking camera bag that I personally have ever used. And because of that, I will continue to use this bag, but I would do so within the limits that I've set for this particular bag. I personally will probably only be using this bag when I don't need to carry a lot of different camera gear. Well, first of all, because it can't hold a lot of camera gear like I said earlier, but also because the straps and the hip belt really does not help to make this bag more comfortable when it is fully loaded. So if you're interested in this bag for yourself, just be mindful of the complaints that I've laid out and understand the limits of this camera bag. I hope this video has helped you out. If you did, give it a thumbs up, share it around, comment down below with any thoughts or questions that you may have. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more content. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.